What if the most important story that you'll ever tell is the one you were never allowed to speak out loud? What happens when we strip away the masks and finally listen to the stories that our hearts are trying to tell? I'm Raylan, veteran, healer, mother, misfit, and your unapologetically human host. And this is my heart of the story, a living, breathing biography of what it means to be fully alive. These stories aren't filtered or perfectly wrapped. They're messy, brave, sometimes funny as hell. We talk about the moments that cracked us open, the relationships that reshaped us, and the gold we found in the messy middle. Around here, we honor the truth behind the performance and the love beneath the grief and the courage it takes to show up anyway. Because healing doesn't always look pretty, but it's always worth it. So pull up a seat, laugh, cry, and swear if you need to. This one's for the rebels and the healers and the ones carrying the weight and still finding a way to dance. This story isn't just mine. It's yours too. So welcome to my heart of the story. Okay, hello, beautiful humans. I am back and just thought that while it was alive in me, I was going to go ahead and just record the realness of where I'm at. So, truth be told, last night I found myself in a little bit of a tizzy. And it's funny because I talked to my mom this morning and sorry, I have to wear glasses. I'm blind. Can't see without them. And there's glare. And it drives me crazy. Also, I have really flat hair today. Oh, well. Anyways, I was talking to my mom today and I told her, I said, I threw a Chrissy Pissy Pants fit last night. And we had a good giggle. And so anyways, I just wanted to share where I'm at. And so, yesterday we got off of a call with the kids because for Dylan, it's like really important right now that we all talk. He made a kind of a declaration yesterday that he wants all of his kids to get on a phone chat, FaceTime or whatever on Sundays. And his little daddy heart is feeling the void of the kids, Brian and Lincoln being, out of the house. And so anyways, we were on this FaceTime, and for the sake of their own privacies, I won't go into details about what was going on, and it wasn't like super catastrophic, and nobody was hurt. Nobody was in jail. Nobody was calling to ask for money. It was just one of those moments where I realized that they're adults now and they're out there making their own decisions. And apparently they're perfectly comfortable making decisions that make me just twitch, and feel so uncomfortable in my body. And somewhere in the middle of that, I just kind of caught myself thinking, I'm going to say it. And I know some of you aren't going to really like it. And some of you are going to think it's hilarious, but I'm going to fucking say it because how can these little punk ass bitches be so careless with the future that Dylan and I worked so hard to build for them? That's the truth. That is the when I get down to the depths of it, when I really ask myself, what is happening here? Why am I feeling this way? That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like we worked, we sacrificed. And by sacrifice, I don't mean that being a parent is a sacrifice, but it is, in a sense, a sacrifice. You put yourself aside for the most part, and you prioritize their lives when they're little. At least that's what Dylan and I chose to do with our children. And so then I have to remember that they are Dylan's children. If you know anything of Dylan, you know that Dylan is a wild man, even still at 46 years old. I know he's starting to feel his age. Don't tell him I said that. But he's still a wild man and he lived a very wild life. I mean, we both have at certain times in our lives done that. And then I also have to remember that my children have Smith blood. And so if you know any of us Smiths, then you also know what that means. And that just, we're um, come from a long line of outlaws and rebels. And so what did I expect? That's what I kind of like. I'm like, what did I expect? And so this is the thing. And I don't think it's actually about the kids. I think that that's just where my fear landed. Because if I'm honest, I've been carrying around this underlying fear. And I don't even think I would say, oh, since Teva passed away, but I don't think it's even that. I think that that was just like something that helped switch something on for me. But I don't think I realized how much like one event could change me. And so obviously I miss her, but it kind of, I guess, shattered some kind of illusion. That if I like paid close enough attention, if I worried enough, if I planned enough, um, loved enough, loved hard enough, um, made decisions to try to model a sober lifestyle, to try not to be too critical of myself, to not be too hard on myself. Think that maybe I could prevent terrible things from happening, right? So if I just, again, back with the enoughness, but if I just, I lived a certain way, Dylan and I we made horrible decisions still while we were raising kids. I mean, absolutely horrible decisions. And we modeled, I feel like, both spectrums of behavior at some point in their lives, right? Let's say if Harley's 17 and Brian's 26, we've modeled all of the different ways of being. And so I think what's really come alive is that talking a lot about Teva lately, guys, but I'm telling you, this little freaking dog made a huge impact and it's really teaching me something. And so I have to share while it's alive. So just bear with me. But I remember worrying about the gate. And so I even remember, like, obviously, when I said that out loud about getting the gate fixed, and what would happen if we didn't with the pond. And then that's exactly what happened. And so honestly, ever since then, kind of become afraid of my own words, if I'm being completely transparent. And I've become afraid of my own words and afraid of my own thoughts, almost like, what if I speak something into existence? And so when I find myself in this tizzy, I battle in between, like, thinking that I have control. And so it's like, what if worrying somehow becomes a spell? What if somehow, if I'm worrying, that I'm creating some kind of outcome for them? Um, and that might sound incredibly crazy to some people, but for me, it doesn't sound crazy and it doesn't feel crazy. Because I feel like if you've ever experienced grief, you know that your brain starts to look for patterns and looking for explanations and looking for anything that makes a senseless loss make sense. And so what I'm beginning to realize is maybe that it actually isn't about my words. Maybe it's about how desperately I want the illusion that I can keep everybody safe, or everyone or everything, keep everybody safe. Because if my words cause it, then maybe my words can prevent it. And if I just think the right thoughts and say the right things and pray the right prayers, and I just worry enough and I stay vigilant enough, and maybe I can keep tragedy away. But what an absolutely impossible burden to carry. So last night, the same fear showed up wearing, a different outfit. And so it showed up as my kids. And I found myself got off the phone, just had this absolute sickening feeling inside of my stomach. And as much as I want to be transparent about what's going on, I also want to respect my kids. And so I'll just say that they're being kids. But in my mama heart, I just want to wrap them in bubble wrap, put them in car seats still, and keep them safe. And so, anyways, it was bedtime. Dylan has to go to bed early because he gets up early. And so we were in bed and I did all of my routine magnesium rubs and, all the things to get myself ready for bed to try to go to sleep. And I don't even know what Dylan said. He said something. And I was just I just told him, I said, my night's ruined. And to be quite honest, I think that what he got out of the conversation with our kids wasn't exactly what he was looking for either, although there was some humor and as always, there's connection. And so that was the important thing. So I want to just say that that's what's important. But I imagine that he was feeling things as well, but just not talking about them. And so I just said to him, my night's ruined. And obviously we were going to bed, so it wasn't like whatever. Anyway, and so he didn't say anything. And he just put on his sleep mask. Sorry, babe. But he put on his sleep mask because it's quite bright in our room. And it was only like 9:15, maybe 9:30. And that was it. Like, that was it. That's all he had. And I just laid there and I was like, oh, this man. Every time I need him the most, when I need him the most, when I need comforting, when I need him to say the stupid ass cliche, everything's going to be okay thing, he doesn't say shit. And so I was like, you know what? Screw this. I am not going to lay here. There's no way I'm going to sleep. I'm going to the she shed. I got up and started putting my clothes back on. And he's like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to the she shed. He's like, okay, I wish I could help. And it's not his fault. And I don't know why that's the thing I did. This is why my mom and I were laughing because I'm like, oh my God, this is such a Chrissy Pissy Pants moment. Like seriously, this is what I could have said. I could have said, babe, I'm struggling right now. And even though it's cheesy, please tell me that everything's going to be okay. Or maybe I just need you to hold me right now because I was spiraling. I was absolutely spiraling, thinking of all of the worst freaking things that could happen to my kids. And so I came out to my she shed and I made a little nest and I turned off all of the lights and I just laid on the floor in this little nest that I made. And I just let myself spiral. I just let myself spiral. I didn't try to stop myself. I just realized that it feels like there's a lot happening, a lot of transition happening when you have kids that are living outside of the home. If you're there, it's just so alive in me right now. And so last night, like I said, it showed up as my kids last night. And the uncomfortable truth is that part of my fear isn't just for them. Part of it is about us. And that's what I realized when I was laying here. It's about me and Dylan. And, we've spent decades now raising these little humans, sacrificing, teaching, showing up consistently day after day in everything, always showing up, every game, every life challenge, every lesson, every broken bone, everything for our kids, just continually showing up. And now it's like dreaming about this next season of our lives together. And then I catch myself wondering, thinking after the conversation with the kids is like, what if one of them blows up their life? Here we go again, right? I don't want to speak these things into existence, but this is what is going on in my mind. I can't help but think this. And then I'm like, oh my God, you're so selfish for thinking this. Why do you always make it about yourself? And it's like, no, I'm not making it about myself. I'm having a real life experience of what this means when I hear my children and where my thoughts go with this. And so, okay, what if what are they going to need us forever? Um, what if our plans change? What if I even said to them on the phone last night, I said, you know what? Me and dad are selling the house. So you better not screw up your life because you're not going to have anywhere to go. That is fucking horrible. And that was like my knee jerk defensive response to listening to them be kids, listening to them have experiences, listening to them learn as they go. This is, I don't want to say not fair, but that's what it feels like. It's not fair for me to jump to those conclusions. Like God and my angels and everything protected me from some of the most ridiculously stupid decisions over and over and over and over again. All of these what ifs just were flooding in. And so, this isn't just fear. It's me trying to like future proof the people that I raised, but I don't actually control. I've never actually, I mean, I've had some feral ass children. I've never had control. I decided to parent my kids totally different and received so much, oh gosh, words escaping me, but what is that damn word? I want to know the word. Backlash. So much backlash for the way that I chose to parent my children differently. And so I I really tried to balance like letting them just be them and be sovereign in who they are. Um, like the conscious parenting kind of thing, not being a helicopter mom and believing in natural consequence. And I love you too much to argue. And I trust that I raised you to know the difference between right and wrong, all of those kind of things. And so I think, and I'm going to bring my faith back in here a little bit. I think this is where God has been gently nudging me. Maybe it's not even gently nudging me. Maybe he's like elbowing me. And I don't think it's like that he's elbowing me with shame or condemnation, but just kind of this quiet question of like, whose children are these? Because if they're mine, then somehow I feel like extremely responsible for the outcome. But if they were entrusted to me, then maybe my job was never to control the ending. And, I had a conversation with Brian on the phone this morning. And I was just very honest with him. And I just told him, um, not like practice what I preach, but kind of practice what I preach because I really feel like we can't screw this up. I really, really feel that way, no matter what. I really feel like we can't screw this up. And so we had that conversation this morning. And so he's been hearing these words out of my mouth for a long time, I would say at least like 7 years, so, from 19 onward, once he was maybe even longer than that, to be completely honest. And so again, maybe my job was simply to love them like really, really, really well, like really, really hard while they were under my roof and still continue to love them and to continue to teach them and to pray for them and to model, what I can and then let go, open my hands. So what I think that I'm actually discovering here is that control isn't about like wanting power. It never has been power. It's not like I've never felt like that. Um, but I think that it's what love looks like when it's terrified. I think that's what feels the most true for me. And so this one has hit me pretty hard because I don't want to control my kids. I don't want them to feel like I'm disappointed Or I don't want to be the kind of person that throws it in their face and says, "Do you know how much your dad and I worked and sacrificed so that you could have these opportunities? And now what are you doing with your life?" Like, I am not that person. Even though on my honoriest days, I I can be that way. I humble myself and say, "Oh my God, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that I even had that thought." I told sis the other day, something happened, and I told her the other day, I was like, "Please try harder." And then I went down this rabbit hole of realizing that at one point in their lives, I did. I told them, like, try harder when they were in school and they were diagnosed with dyslexia. I remember being like, try harder. And they were freaking trying hard. That was that. Who am I to say that they're not doing their best? Right? Like, who am I to say that they are not trying harder and that that is what they're capable of? Because most days I feel like I fall short. And if somebody were to say to me, "Hey, do better," I'd probably freaking sucker punch them. And so I think that's just ridiculous. That, you know, not ridiculous, honest, in the thick of it, here in what I call this messy middle. And so I just want to protect my kids, but I don't want to like control the future. I just want everybody that I love to be okay. I don't want to control the future. I have no fucking control over the future. Ugh, like get it through your head, Raylan. It's like thinking. But I realized that, wanting to protect them and not wanting to control the future and just wanting everybody that I love to be okay are actually the same kind of thing. And so here I am. My name is Raylan. I am in the messy middle. I'm learning the difference between what it means to partner with God and where I've been of trying to do God's job. Ugh. That's the truth. And I'm learning that my thoughts are not actually loaded weapons. Um, that worrying isn't same thing as loving. I would never in a million years ever, ever, ever wish this upon my children. This fear, this worry. I would never want that for them, ever. Not for anyone else, honestly, ever. Um, and so surrendering isn't passive. It's this idea of having like this open hand. I remember reading this feng shui book years ago, and it talked about how if we have all of the just in case jeans, like, and I'm using jeans as an example because I have so many pairs of jeans and I'm like, one day. So I'm not actively practicing this. I just have this knowledge, not perfect. But I have all of these jeans. It's like, well, one day when I'm that size again, because I love these jeans and I'll never be able to find a pair of jeans like this. So I'm going to keep my size sixes or I don't know, whatever it is. Probably my size eights, to be completely honest. I'd be happy in my size eights again. And so, anyways, back to the book, it was just talking about how if you were constantly like, if you are holding on to, and this is me, I am holding on for fucking dear life. I am holding on. Nothing is getting in here. Everything's just like bouncing off of it. Nothing is getting in there. But if I could just open my hand, if I just get rid of all the things, new things can replace that. It's like basically like slapping God, creator, universe, whatever in the face and being like, I don't trust that you're going to give me new cute jeans. Just saying. So it's like holding on to all of these things. This is this closed hand, not being able to receive. And so I told my best friend Tara, we were on a trip in Mount Shasta, and I told her, I said, I don't know, I just have this constant feeling like I'm just bracing for impact. Um, and maybe that's because it just feels like grief has taught me that everything can change in an instant. And so it's like, I can't put so much pressure on myself to be magnificent at this. Even though I have the knowledge, like I said, I've read the books, I have the tools, it doesn't necessarily mean that I use them all of the time. And so, what does healing look like? Like maybe for me right now, instead of having this closed fist and being like, overnight, I've had this realization, and suddenly I am so clever and so intelligent that now I can just open my hand and receive. No, it probably looks more like, okay, here we go. Maybe next week or next month, I might be able to open it up one little teeny tiny finger at a time, and eventually I'll get there. Maybe. I don't know. So I don't really have this. Clearly, I don't have it figured out. Um, and I don't have like this tied up in a cute, perfect little bow today, and maybe not even tomorrow because I'm still wrestling and I'm still praying and I'm still catching myself, trying to control things that I clearly can't. And it's this idea that I've had for a long time, this idea, this realization, this, coming to Jesus kind of moments where what if instead of constantly going to the worst case scenario, I decided to take all of that energy and put it into the best case scenario? The like, what could possibly happen if I didn't create a drama, tragedy every single time my kids were being kids. Um, so I think that's where I'm at. And I have been calling this the messy middle. And then I'm kind of like laughing and bracing for impact because I'm like, oh my God, why did I coin this term in my life, the messy middle? Why couldn't I have just been like, this is the fabulous 40s. This is the fantastic 50s. I mean, I still can, obviously, because it's like not too late to do that. But did I ask for this? Did any of us ask for midlife? Uh, kind of hate to break it to you guys, but I don't think that we're going to have all of the answers. I think this is just the whole point of this is to be able to tell the truth about where we're at, where we are. And so today I'm just learning to trust God with the people that I love, and to realize also just this big epiphany that I had is like, this may just be a completely separate, it just came to me. But what if like what I am doing is like loving them more than life itself, and thus, oh, dare I say, idolatry of loving my kids more than anything in this world. Not even trusting that God loves them more than I could ever possibly begin to imagine loving them. And again, this is just me asking the questions and pondering these kind of things that come. I don't know. I don't actually know the answers. And so if I'm being completely honest, I think that these realizations and the concepts and where I'm at here is maybe one of the bravest things that I've ever had to learn. And maybe you're there too. I don't think that I'm alone. And I just want to say that for me, finding the humor in all of this seems to be the thing. Well, that's the thing that where I find the most connection. And my husband doesn't even know that he did anything wrong. Oh, I haven't even talked to him about it. I haven't even gotten a chance because he woke up at 4:30 this morning to go to work. And so I don't even think that he realizes that I've had this whole process. So I think that this is like important to mention is if you're in a relationship or a partnership or a friendship, and you throw a Chrissy Pissy Pants fit and you don't tell people how you're feeling or what's going on, they're not mind readers and they do not know. And so, as always, I just want to wrap this up with some kind of message. This is my heart of the story. This is how I'm feeling. And I just want to take where I'm at and just share it candidly and openly and as raw and human as possible. And just say, if that's where you are, like, let's just have conversations. And obviously, I'm going to have a conversation with my husband and I'm going to admit my faults and I'm going to humble myself and say, I realize I could have asked for help last night, but instead, I went to my she shed and had a little fit. And also, there's nothing wrong with that either. Like, it's perfectly okay to do that because I didn't yell at him. I didn't I didn't have a full on tantrum. I just removed myself from the feeling in the situation that I was in. I knew I wasn't going to be able to sleep. Why sit here and just stew over this? My husband's got to get up in the morning. I'm an adult. I can go have a fit out in my she shed. And maybe you don't have a she shed to run to. But what's the point? The point is that we are flawed, imperfect, but somehow perfectly imperfect. And so, yeah, that's where my heart is today. And I just wanted to share it while it was alive. And so I hope that you feel the truth of this situation. Maybe it sparks something else in your own life. I don't know. But out here, yeah, parenting semi-adult children and figuring out what that looks like. It ain't pretty. Sometimes it's a little messy. So thanks for being here. And I hope to connect with those of you who find resonance in this. And thanks again for being my people. And if you're not my people yet, hopefully you'll be my people soon. All right. That's it for today's chapter of My Heart of the Story. Before you go, take a breath. Honor whatever rose up in you today, even if it caught you off guard. Thank you for meeting me here in the beautiful, brutal, honest, messy middle. For being a part of this living and breathing story that doesn't need to be fixed, just felt. And when the world gets loud, when the weight feels like too much, when you forget who you are, remember this: you are human, so stay wild and come back to your heart. It's still here, still beating, still yours. So until we meet again, big love, deep roots, soft shoulders, brave heart.